Hi, everybody. My name is Veronica, and I'm a career counselor with Career Intentions. Today we have a presentation. Let me share. Today we're going to cover resume and cover letter building, and we'll go a little bit into interview etiquette and helping you prepare yourself for prospective employers. So real quick, my name is Veronica again, and I'm a career counselor again with Career Intentions. In this presentation, we're going to cover real quick we'll dive into some self-reflection. So make sure you pull out a pen and paper so you can kind of answer the questions in the self-reflection. We'll go into job search tips. We'll go into how to create a professional image. This is very important, your professional branding. And then we'll dive into resume, cover letters, and reference page basics. And then we'll go into attire, so dressing to impress, and how to practice interviewing, some interviewing tips, and some basic tips to remember as you're searching for employment. And then we'll close. So I want you to start thinking about what's really important to you. So the first question is, what do you like? So think about that. Whatever comes to mind, go ahead and write it down. This is an opportunity for you to engage in self-reflection and learn more about yourself, so that you know what you bring to a prospective employer. And the second question is, what do you find interesting? What are your interests? Third is, what are your values? So what do you value? Do you value money, family, flexibility? What's your values? What are your strengths? These are very important to identify. So I want you to think about that. What are your strengths? Where would you like to live? Do you want to stay in the Sacramento region? Do you want to live elsewhere? Where do you want to live? What companies and organizations are you interested to work for? When you're doing your research about where do you want to work, which ones pique your interest? What are things you don't want in your life and in your employment? What's a big no? We want to know that. And with these questions, it's really important that you have self-awareness, that you're aware of what your values are and what your actual abilities are, because this is going to help guide you in your job search. Now the next step in your job search is to do some research about the employer. So research the companies or organizations. Look at different job titles for the types of positions you're looking for. Sometimes people will get a degree, let's say in social work, and they'll look for positions as a social worker, but social work also can, you can also be a case manager, for example. So there's different types of job titles you need to think about when applying or research, so that you have more options. And then when you're also looking at like job postings, make sure you look at the duties, what's required. Does your experience or your background assist you, prepare you for the duties for that position? Also looking at the requirements in the job posting. What's actually required, and will you be able to fulfill that? Do you have examples to provide that you do fulfill those requirements? such as if when you go on to the interview and they ask you, do you have experience with this? And you're able to give an example. You also want to look at the salary. Research the salary range for the positions you're applying for. And then when you're looking at the job titles, also looking at the salary, that's something that is within what you're thinking about. And also it's really important that you research the salary range for the types of positions you're applying for, like the overarching salary range, so that if you, let's say you apply, you get invited for an interview, you interview and you get offered a position. And if you have a salary range in mind, then you're able to negotiate your salary based on your experience. Also, look, it's really important that you research the types of compensation package. So it's like, are health benefits important to you? Retirement, is that important to you? So looking at that, like there's places that give bonuses. There's places that give like paid time off. So it's important for you to consider that, and is that something that you want? So just for your reference. Also, another thing in your job search that's important to do is to conduct informational interviews to get more information, to see if that's a place where you want to apply for. Is it worthwhile? And an informational interview is when you ask an employer for a short meeting where you can ask questions regarding the company, what they do for their job, what's industry like, what's the culture in that specific company. So yeah, that will definitely help in your job search. Also, job shadowing is really helpful too. It's a great way to figure out if that's where you want to work at, and it's a great opportunity for you to network as well as the informational interview. It's a great opportunity to network. As well as job shadow. Job shadowing is when you ask the employer if you can follow them throughout their workday to learn about the particular job that you're interested in. And this will give you a great insight to see if that's a place you want to work at, and if that's the type of job you want to do. So yeah. Also, a really great way to research or to find out more is to intern somewhere. So that could be paid or unpaid. And internships is where you learn about the organization or company, and you learn how to do a specific job or task. So you're actually working, but you might be paid or unpaid, and you're actually gaining experience. And this will help you get an idea if you want to continue working in that field or organization. So stuff to consider as you're preparing yourself for your job search. So now we're going to touch upon creating a professional brand for yourself. So creating a professional image of yourself. So start thinking about and begin creating a professional image. But it's a long process, okay? I just want to prepare you, but you could do it. Sorry. So start creating a professional email. Your voicemail needs to be professional. So like saying your name and to leave a brief message with and their name or phone number, something professional. Make sure you have a consistent phone number. Some people will have a phone number and then they'll change it every couple of months. You want to make sure you have a phone number that's consistent. So when you're applying, they're able to get a hold of you. Also, you can create a business card. It has your name and it has like what you're specializing in. And you can put some strengths on there too, or what type of services you're able to provide as well. On the business card, it's a great way to network. So when you're meeting people, introduce yourself and get to know them. And you can leave in your business card to let them know, like if they think of anything, if they come across a position that you're interested in, they could contact you and leave them your business card. And it also leaves a really great impression. Also, your professional image is really important to uphold in your social media. So in your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all those social medias, employers, believe it or not, can find you. Even though you might change your name on social media, they might be able to find you. So it's really important that you're careful on what you place in social media, because it could impact your professional branding. Also, part of your professional branding or your professional image is your resume. So your resume needs to look good. It needs to include key information so that you're able to get an interview, as well as your cover letter and your reference page. Also, part of your professional image is to leave thank you cards after an interview, and this will help so that you can stand out from the other applicants. And then it's always good to have in your back pocket an elevator speech. It's like a 60-second commercial of yourself. So it's really important that you practice and memorize this. So now we're going to dive into the types of resumes. So here's a quick example of a chronological resume. So you can see it on the right-hand side. A chronological resume showcases the employment history section, titled as either a professional experience or work experience. So it'll include on the top an objective, and you have a section about your education. And in that education, you can list specific skills that you have. And it really does highlight the work experience in chronological order. And you can have a section for like activities or affiliations, really brief and short, and community involvement, really brief and short. Also under the employment, the work experience section, it's really important that you list the description by using bullet points that are action verbs. So as you can see on this resume, so this person worked as a program assistant for MESA and in Sacramento, and they had like when they worked there. And each bullet point here starts with an action word. So like aided, accessed, managed, facilitated, assisted. So showing that they did something. So that's highly recommended to do. The advantage of a chronological resume is that it provides an organized and chronological list of with descriptions of your previous employments. The disadvantage of a chronological resume is that if you have little to no employment history, then this type of resume will not be useful in assisting you to apply for jobs. So this resume is really great if you have work experience in that type of position you're applying for, and it shows that depth. And we're going to look at another resume for those that have less work experience for the types of positions they're applying for. And that type of resume is called a functional resume. And you can see it here on the right. So the functional resume is similar to chronological, but yet different. So it does have the objective. It's really important you include an objective when you're submitting your resume, because sometimes employers get a lot of different applications and they print your application or they file it somewhere and they maybe misplace it, and then they find it and then they're not sure where it goes to. So when you have an objective, you always list what the position you're applying for, and if it has a position number included in the objective as well, and the company that you're applying for as well. Also you can list your education, and under education, you can list any specific skills and achievements you've had. And then the difference between the chronological and functional is this section. It's called skills and qualification. So in the chronological resume, we had work experience. And that's if you do have that work experience. But if you don't have the experience required for the position, direct work experience, but you do have the experience like through your education or extracurricular activities or volunteer, you would list under what's called skills and qualifications section. So let me go backtrack. So the skills and qualifications section highlights key duties that the employer wants you to do. So like in this position, for example, and on this resume, it's this person wants to obtain a staff accountant in one position. And in the job description, when this Suzanne was looking at the job description, she found that accounting, communication, and client relations are key things that this position requires. So she's showing that she has that experience, not directly through work experience, but through, let's say, an internship or a volunteer experience, or through education, or through could be like could be through anything other than like brief work experience or like in more in-depth work experience. So for example, this person does have some accounting experience. They say they processed some payroll, they reconciled some payroll, provide timely, accurate bookkeeping. So they have a little bit of experience, but not direct, like full-time work experience. So they're highlighting that. So this resume, functional resume, is really great for those that have little to no experience in the position they're applying for. Also, in this resume, you can list just briefly, your employment history, if you do have any. And then you can list community involvement and affiliations. Now we're going to go into the cover letter. So cover letters are basically you letting the employer know why you're the ideal candidate. But each cover letter has like a specific structure to follow. So we're going to look into that. So the main components of a cover letter. So in this cover letter sample right here, you can see like in paragraph 1, you inform the employer why you're writing to them. And I usually advise that in paragraph 1, you let them know where you found the position as well. Did somebody refer you? Did you find it on a job board? Where did you find this position? In paragraph 2 and 3, you provide specific examples of your qualifications that would be of greatest interest to the employer. And then in paragraph 4, you sincerely show your interest in the position, why you're interested in that position. And then in paragraph 5 down here, you express your appreciation for being considered for the position and your contact information. So that's the basic structure for a cover letter. If you're applying for a professional position, you should always submit a cover letter. Even if the job duty statement or doesn't require one, still submit a cover letter so that your application gets picked up and you get invited to an interview. Because this cover letter is showing why you're the best candidate, what makes you unique. Also, this is a format for a reference page. So here's an example. So for the cover letter, the resume, and the reference page, you're always going to use the same heading. This is kind of what the reference page looks like. And I recommend to have 3 to 5 references on your reference page. I wouldn't have more than that. And have at least 3 references on your reference page. Reference pages are only submitted upon request, you don't submit them just because. You only submit them if it's a requirement for the application, or upon request. If the employer does not request you to provide your reference page, then don't provide it. Okay, so that's the rule for the reference page. And then it says here, ask someone you know if they can provide a recommendation of your academic or work performance, and make sure that whoever you're asking is going to say something positive about you. So you can ask like a former supervisor or manager, teacher, coach, etc. It has to be a positive recommendation. Always ask before listing them as a reference, and only provide a reference page upon request of the employer. And I'm trying to think what else. If you're not sure if the employer can, oh, actually, no. If you're not sure if the person you're asking for a reference is going to say a positive recommendation, what you could do is ask them first to write a recommendation letter for you. And once they write it, you read it. And if they wrote a positive recommendation, then it's probably a great idea to ask them if you can list them as a reference. If they don't give a positive recommendation, there's probably an indication that you shouldn't ask them for a reference. To ask them as to add them as a reference on your reference page. So that's just a tip. Okay, so now we're going to go into dress to impress. So for your attire for an interview, informational interview, or a job shadow is to always wear professional attire. So it could be business casual or it could be business professional, as you can see here in the picture. Before you go to an interview, if you're not sure what to wear, always conduct research. How do people who work there dress? How do they dress like? If you're not able to find out, then ask, how should I dress for the interview? And you can ask human resources. And if all else fails, you can wear a dark suit. And it's always better to be overdressed than undressed. When you're conducting your research about the attire, and you find out people dress casual at the workplace, the rule of thumb is to always dress a little bit better than the people who work there, so that you give a good impression. Okay. And also it's some tips about dress is to wear like black or navy blue, or you could do grays, like a gray suit. And then I wouldn't do like extravagant colors, like this guy's wearing like a extravagant green. I would steer away, or like a yellow. But like this lady, she's wearing like a red. This is a nice like toned down red. Blues always give a really good impression too, like this lighter blue for the top. So that's those are just some tips. Okay, so now how to practice how to interview. There's a lot of different methods to try, but this one is the elevator speech. It's really important that you memorize your elevator speech. Here's like an example of how you can prepare your elevator speech. And basically your elevator speech is telling about your background, your education, and yeah, your background, education, and your work experience. Or yeah. So, and if you don't have work experience, then you can share about any like volunteer professional experiences you've had. Also, it's really important too to highlight what are your goals. So what are your career aspirations? And what's cool about the elevator speech is that this, you can use it when you're networking, and you can use it to answer the question in an interview, the question that says, tell me about yourself. This is a great way to answer that question, the elevator speech. And again, I wanted to reiterate again, what is an elevator speech? So an elevator speech, again, it's a clear, brief message or commercial about you. It communicates who you are, what you're looking for, how you can benefit a company or organization. Is typically 30 seconds. And the time it takes people to ride from the top to the bottom of a building in an elevator, but it could be longer, especially if you're answering the tell me about yourself question. You want to make sure that you provide some depth. It doesn't have to necessarily be 30, 60, or 90 seconds. It could be a little bit longer. Another interview tips is to practice using mock interviews. So that's like you're practicing with somebody doing like the actual interview with like really tough questions, and you actually like dressing up and acting like you're in the actual interview. And so it emulates the actual job interview. And it's used for training purposes. And it's a conversational exercise, usually resembles a real interview as closely as possible for the purpose of providing you an experience as a candidate. So it really does help. Like this guy, he's practicing there on the right. You can also practice with friends and family members more informally. But the key is to practice, because practice makes perfect. Also think about practice responding to common interview questions by giving specific examples of work you've done or projects you've done. The key is to give examples when you're interviewing. Give lots of examples. Use up the time showcasing why you're the best candidate with great examples. Practice showing confidence if you're not feeling confident. And something you could do is called a power pose. So that's when you stand up and you put your hands to your sides on your hips, and you stand up straight and tall, and you breathe normally, and that kind of lifts up your spirit and helps you build that confidence. Also, I've heard of people saying like they yell out phrases or they say phrases, I'm great. You can do it, like you're self-talk, you're talking to yourself, I will get the job I want. And like they repeat those mantras to help lift their confidence. And when you're saying it, you need to believe it. Also, when you're answering interview questions, it's really important that you give examples, but you can follow like a method called the STAR method when you're trying to answer questions, which is you give a situation, like, so what happened? What task did you do? What was the action involved, and what was the result? And if you practice answering questions that way, you're going to give a more complete answer to the question, which could help you in being offered a position and being a candidate that stood out. So I wanted to remind you that job search is a lot of work, okay? It's a process, It's not just about thinking about your resume, but it's a whole like process about like thinking about what you want, what you can provide, where you want to be. Um, where do you want to be like 5, 10 years from now? um, and then researching employers and researching like the job duties and if that's a good fit for you, and then finally applying, completing the application, and tailoring your resume and cover letter for each position you apply for. This is key, okay? You need to tailor, I forgot to mention that, tailor your resume and cover letter and reference page for each position you apply for and to ensure that you get an interview. It's a long process. And then going through being invited for interview and going through the whole interview process and possibly getting offered a position. So, I mean, just be patient. It's a long process. You could do it. Follow every rainbow. Keep an open mind. Keep your options open because like there's this happenstance theory, which is that if you keep your options open, you open all those different doors or opportunities and something can come out of it. You don't know. And also, if you're, let's say you get an interview, you interview and you get a no, the more no's you get, so the more practice you get, it'll bring you closer to a yes, to being offered to a position. So you are going to get the position that you want, but just be patient. You're going to get it when it's the right moment. And most importantly, it's important to that you have a positive mindset. So like a growth mindset. Like you could do this. You're capable. You're worthy. You're valuable. You are going to get the job that you want. It just takes a lot of effort and perseverance. So make sure you express confidence and be persistent, okay? Keep applying, you're gonna get what you want. And you got this, okay? I believe in you. And I also wanted to leave my contact information. Again, my name is Veronica. I work as a career counselor for Career Intentions, where we provide career counseling, resume writing service, outplacement services. So it's like career transition services for employment, for employers, and tailored workshops for professional development or personal development, and our team building as well. And here's my contact information. I have my email and phone number. And if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, website's underway, but that's the website domain. And we also have Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us. It's a lot of fun. And I want to thank you for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you need any career services, feel free to contact me. I wish you all the best. Thank you.